The Crimson Masquerade. The grand ballroom of the Blackwood estate was alive with the glint of chandeliers and the murmur of costumed guests. Snow whispered against the windows, a fragile barrier against the frigid December night. Detective Evelyn Grant lingered at the edges of the gathering, her senses sharp. She wasn't here to enjoy the festivities. She was following a trail of blood. The first body was found just before midnight. A young woman in an elegant silver gown, her throat slit ear to ear, lay sprawled on the grand staircase. Blood cascaded down the steps like a macabre waterfall, pooling at the feet of the horrified guests. Evelyn forced her way through the panicked crowd, her eyes scanning for anyone out of place. A sharp gasp from the balcony drew her gaze upward. Another body dangled from the ornate railing, swaying like a gruesome pendulum. The crimson mask the killer wore shimmered under the light, faceless and haunting. "Everyone stay together," Evelyn commanded, her voice slicing through the chaos. But fear fractured the crowd. Costumed figures scattered, vanishing into the labyrinth of the estate. The killer's game had begun. Evelyn stalked the shadowed corridors, her flashlight carving through the darkness. The scent of blood hung heavy in the air, mingling with the faint, sweet tang of lilies from the ballroom. As she turned a corner, a gory tableau stopped her in her tracks. A man's torso had been pinned to the wall with a pair of fireplace pokers. His mask, a harlequin design, was slashed in two, revealing lifeless eyes. "Why?" Evelyn whispered, bile rising in her throat. The killer wasn't just murdering. They were staging their victims like grotesque art. A faint melody drifted through the halls. It was the ballroom's waltz, but distorted, as though played on a warped record. Following the sound, Evelyn entered a parlor drenched in crimson light. There, amidst the carnage of shattered furniture and smeared blood, the killer stood. They tilted their head, the featureless mask reflecting Evelyn's trembling form. "Why are you doing this?" she demanded, gun trained on the figure. The killer responded with silence. Then, they moved. Fast, inhumanly so. Evelyn fired, but the shot seemed to pass through shadows. A blade arced toward her, narrowly missing as she ducked. She struck out with her flashlight, shattering the mask. Beneath it, the killer's face was her own. Evelyn stumbled back, her mind reeling. The killer's laughter echoed, guttural and wrong. But this time she didn't run. With trembling hands, she retrieved a shard of the shattered mask, holding it up like a talisman. The laughter wavered, faltering. The room seemed to shift, the crimson light dimming into a sickly gray. The figure paused, their once fluid movements now jerky and uncertain. "You're not real," Evelyn whispered, though her voice was firm. "You're a part of me, but you don't control me." The killer's form began to distort, their features melting into a shapeless shadow. With a roar of defiance, Evelyn flung the shard at the figure, and it dissolved into nothingness, leaving only silence in its wake. She staggered out of the parlor and back into the ballroom, which was eerily still. The guests, the bodies, even the blood, all were gone. Only the faint melody of the waltz remained, now soft and mournful. Evelyn collapsed onto the grand staircase, the adrenaline leaving her body in waves. As dawn broke through the frost-covered windows, she resolved to uncover the truth about the masquerade and her own haunted past. But for now, she allowed herself one small victory. She had faced her nightmare and survived.